Epictetus Three Disciplines. Stoic Philosophy Core Concepts Explained Philosophy Theory. Hello, I'm Dr. Gregory Sadler, a professor of philosophy and the president and founder of an educational consulting company called Reason.io, where we put philosophy into practice. I've been studying and teaching philosophy for over 2 decades, and I've noticed that many people struggle with reading classic philosophical texts. Sometimes it's the language or the structure of the text that poses a challenge, but the concepts themselves aren't always as complex as they seem. That's where I come in to help students and lifelong learners. I've been creating longer lecture videos and posting them on YouTube, and many viewers have found them useful. What you're currently watching is part of a new series of shorter videos, each focused on one core concept from an important philosophical text. I hope you find it helpful as well. In Chapter 2 of Book 3 of the Discourses, Epictetus discusses what one needs to study to become what is known in Greek as kos agathos, which translates to good and noble. In simpler terms, it means becoming a good person who has their life together. He identifies 3 main fields of study that such a person needs to engage in, all of which are covered by Stoic philosophy. The first 2 are addressed by Stoic ethics, and the third by Stoic logic. Epictetus is concerned that too many people are jumping ahead to the third area, focusing on epistemological issues without having a solid ethical foundation. He argues that without a partly straightened-out character, all the epistemology or critical thinking one does won't be particularly helpful. So, what are these 3 areas of study? The first one deals with desires and aversions, which are our emotional orientations towards things we perceive as good or bad. We desire things we think are good and are averse to things we think are bad. However, we don't always desire or avoid the right things, often leading to negative consequences. Epictetus believes it's crucial to study the nature of desire and aversion and understand what we should attach these emotions to. For the Stoics, our desires and aversions should be directed towards things within our control. We shouldn't evaluate things outside our control as good or bad, as that's what desire and aversion do. This area also includes the emotions, which we'll explore further shortly. The second area deals with choices and rejections, literally to choose against. This involves understanding what we should choose and what we should reject, which is a fundamental aspect of Stoic ethics. Latin shares a comparable verbal structure, where one can express a choice, indicated by the verb to will, and also convey a reluctance, or refusal, represented by the phrase, to be unwilling to say no, or to reject. This concept differs from mere desires and inversions, as it involves our ability to make choices based on our preferences and dislikes. However, there are instances when we might act contrary to these feelings, especially when we possess greater understanding. This area of study also includes what we refer to as duty or obligation, which holds significant importance for Stoic philosophy. Now, moving on to the third aspect, it pertains to the avoidance of mistakes and hasty judgments when making decisions. This concept is known as assent or synesis, which literally means the act of agreeing to certain ideas. These considerations are epistemological in nature, focusing on what beliefs we should hold and which we should question. Epictetus points out that many individuals tend to concentrate excessively on these epistemological issues, neglecting the earlier points we discussed. Why is this distinction so crucial? One of our primary objectives is to fulfill our desires. To achieve this, we must first identify what our desires are and explore how we can attain them through logical reasoning. However, a critical element often overlooked in this process is whether our desires and aversions are appropriate in the first place. From a Stoic viewpoint, to attain happiness, one must desire things that are realistically achievable, otherwise, one risks experiencing unhappiness and emotional turmoil. We aim to steer clear of things we dislike, But part of this exploration involves determining what we should genuinely be averse to. For instance, should we view illness as a misfortune, or should we accept it as a natural occurrence? Our reactions, feelings, and opinions are aspects we can choose to desire or avoid, according to Stoic thought. Why is it essential to address emotions in this context? Emotions largely arise from our desires and aversions. Among the various areas of study, the most significant and urgent concerns the more intense emotions, often referred to as passions. A strong emotion typically emerges when a desire fails to achieve its goal, or when an aversion confronts what it seeks to evade. While not all emotional responses are irrational, many are influenced by flawed reasoning or judgment processes. These errors often stem from misaligned desires and aversions, which can lead to emotional disturbances if we are not aligned with Stoic principles. He explains that this area of study exposes us to a range of challenges, including confusion, turmoil, misfortune, and calamity. It brings forth feelings of sorrow, lamentation, and envy, often leading us to experience jealousy. These intense emotions can cloud our judgment, making it difficult to listen to reason. Therefore, it is crucial for us to understand and navigate these feelings effectively. Now, regarding the second area of focus, in order to align our desires and aversions correctly, we may need to make choices that initially contradict our existing desires. This process is essential for establishing new behavioral patterns and habits, which encompass not only our actions, but also our emotional responses and thought processes. We must learn to prioritize effectively, discerning what is truly valuable from what is less significant. This alignment with our choices and rejections is vital, and we should act with care and good reasoning. It is important that our actions resonate with our understanding and make sense to us. Additionally, he emphasizes the significance of nurturing our relationships, both those that are natural and those that we have cultivated. He points out that this ties into our emotional well-being. The second field of study revolves around our duties. We should not be unfeeling like a statue, but rather maintain our relationships as a religious individual, a son, a brother, a father, and a citizen. Each of these roles comes with specific obligations and duties, some of which may require us to feel a certain way in addition to acting in a particular manner. This aspect of study is incredibly important. The third area pertains to achieving certainty and analyzing arguments, which is why it is included in the study of logic. It involves acquiring the necessary criteria for understanding and evaluating these arguments. He notes that this area is more suited for those who are already making progress in their studies. It is not something to be pursued purely for theoretical knowledge. Epictetus repeatedly emphasizes that this is not the primary goal of Stoic philosophy. He continues by discussing the importance of certainty in the previously mentioned matters. The ideal situation is such that even in states of dreaming, intoxication, or melancholy, a person should not be caught off guard by untested impressions or appearances. These impressions, which he refers to as fantasia, can mislead us into believing they are as they seem. We develop tools and resources to help us navigate both external situations and our internal experiences, allowing us to discern what makes sense and what does not. If something seems uncertain, we should withhold our agreement until we gather more evidence or clarity. Getting these aspects right is crucial. According to Epictetus, this understanding serves as the icing on the cake in these three fields. Let me break this down in a way that's easy to follow. The speaker is discussing how philosophers typically approach their studies. He explains that they often skip over the first two foundational areas of learning and jump straight into the third. This third area focuses heavily on complex logical structures like arguments, syllogisms, which are basically step-by-step logical proofs, hypothetical scenarios, and even deceptive reasoning called sophisms. But here's the catch: by focusing only on these abstract, technical aspects, they are missing the bigger picture. This narrow approach won't actually help someone grow into a truly virtuous or admirable human being, which is arguably the whole point of philosophy in the first place. Now, there's another key idea here that wasn't written on the board, but is super important. The speaker emphasizes that these studies aren't just idle academic exercises. Each one requires what the Greeks called ***, a term rooted in the idea of disciplined practice or rigorous training. Think of it like learning a musical instrument. You can't just read about playing the piano, you have to sit down, practice scales, and make mistakes repeatedly before you improve. Similarly, philosophical concepts only make sense when you actively apply them to your life. This means putting in consistent effort, like reflecting on your actions daily or challenging your own biases. Without this hands-on practice, you'll never fully grasp the deeper lessons philosophy offers. It's like trying to learn swimming by reading a book. It just doesn't work. The real understanding kicks in only after you've started growing as a person, proving that wisdom and moral development go hand in hand.